Everybody's done it. We've all compared ourselves to somebody else. Have you done that, Kristen?
Oh yeah, all the time. All the time, actually.
Guilty. And so
Guilty.
that's going to be what we're talking about today is comparing ourselves to others, why we do it, and some tips and tricks on how you can get yourself to not do that, curb that jealousy in today's episode of Souls in Blue. Hi, everyone. I'm Laura.
I'm Kristen.
And this is Souls in Bloom, where Kristen and I have candid conversations to try to inspire your own personal growth. Yes. Today, we're talking about comparing ourselves to others. So, Kristen, I have a confession right off the bat. I'm just going to say it.
Do it.
When I started YouTube, I compared myself to you. I was watching because we started around the same time. We met on, I don't know if I found you or you found me, or it was the speed dating video that Texas Gal Treasures put out.
I think it might have been
that. Yeah, but we were both new. I think we both started a channel at the same time. And so I was watching Kristen's channel just like go up in followers. And I'm like, what the heck? I've been on the same time. Am I just a hideous thing nobody wants to know? Is it my horrible personality? Like, I'm asking myself all these questions and beating myself up. And we're going to go back to that later in this conversation. But yeah. I just wanted to admit to you that when I was thinking of our topic today, I was like, well, I'm just going to tell her all about my jealousy.
Start with the honesty. No, yeah. It's not just you. There's Kimmy that was started at the same time. A lot of people started at the same time. I was just super determined. I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it work. I need to quit my job. I need to,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different like aspects that go into like why somebody goes like excels further than the other, or not even just faster than the other.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not just in content creation. It happens all over.
Yeah.
You find it in your job sometimes, depending on what position you work in. I mean, if you're like a sole proprietor, obviously that doesn't matter. But even then, no, because you do kind of compare your business to other people's business, or your performance to other people's performance.
Yep.
I mean,
all the time. But there's ways that we're going to talk about on how you can kind of flip that into being something more productive and more positive.
Exactly.
Because comparison is still okay if you do it the right way.
Yes, that's absolutely true. Ooh, siblings. Just throwing that out there. That's another. If you got a sibling, you got siblings. I know got siblings. I have two. One I'm doing way better than. One I'm doing. I mean, we're both doing well in our own ways.
Yep.
If you know what I mean. And
my sister is actually one of my bullet points to talk about today.
Oh yeah, should we start there?
Sure.
No family, you're in trouble now. No.
Well, she's probably not going to listen to this, but if she does, I'm sorry. But we're going to use her as an example.
Okay.
And the example is that she always, well, not anymore, but in the beginning of my business and building it and stuff, and the growth that I had, and, the income increase, from my doctor job and everything. That sounded like I'm a doctor. My doctor office job. I wish. So she used to always say, "You're so lucky." No. It has nothing to do with luck. It has all to do with working hard, being consistent, putting in all of your efforts. If something doesn't work out, figure out why, fix it, pivot. If it doesn't work out, figure maybe something else out. There's ways that I worked my way up to where I am now. So she, now she's more understanding of everything I do. But that, she would always be like, "Oh, you're so lucky. You get to stay home all day, and you get to, play with jewelry and go shopping and blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, but that's not if you like, so now that she knows, people don't understand, people may not see it, people definitely don't see our behind the scenes. So
Yeah.
it's easy for someone to compare and say, oh, you're so lucky. But it's not luck, it's hard work.
No, it's really interesting, like, because I didn't think about even talking from the perspective of the person that someone is jealous of. So I'm very curious to hear what you have to say about being on the receiving end of that jealousy. That didn't, when I was taking notes for this didn't even cross my mind. I guess because I'm always the jealous one, maybe. Like,
Well,
no one's jealous of me.
so so do you mean like what I do when somebody is comparing themselves to me?
Yeah, well, I mean, just like, you were saying now, like no one knows your side of the story really. It's an outsider thing. It's just interesting because I've, wrote down some of these things about like you don't know what other people are going through, but to hear it from your actual perspective,
Mhm,
being on the receiving end of someone who's like attacking you for your success, really,
mhm.
you know, it's
Yeah,
just interesting.
you just have to try to explain it to them if you even know that they have those feelings about you. You know, sometimes people may not even communicate that to you. Like if it's on the internet, they may just watch your video and get the feeling and not, convey it to you. But if it's
Yeah.
someone like that says it to you, you can explain it to them. And that's what I did. Like, and I show her like what I do. And even in my videos, mostly on Instagram, I do a lot of behind the scenes so people can see what my job really entails and how it's not just going shopping and playing with jewelry and putting up a video and raking in the cash, as somebody once said to me. And I'm like,
They have no idea. You know what? It's speaking from a perspective of someone who's never done it themselves, so they're making they're filling in all the blanks and making all the assumptions.
correct.
But I will say that was actually a note I had written down here, and this will be the first tip I would say to anybody who's watching this and is suffering from those feelings of, you know being not as good or jealousy of another person or anything, is to open communication with that person.
Hmm.
And because most of the time,
Yep.
people are very willing to offer you some tips of how they did it. Now, there are always exceptions to every single rule in this world. And there's
Yes.
going to be those people that are like, sorry, not sharing. But a lot of the time, if the person is a decent human being, they're going to give you at least some feedback to you. So I would say rather than just attacking people and belittling them or anything like that, open a line of dialogue. Come from like an open perspective of wanting to learn and ask some questions. I'm sure, Kristen has done more than she needs to do and has done so much to help other resellers on her channel, giving out tips and tricks of how
Yep.
she's become such a success. So, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't ever like, I just don't see you being that person that's just like, I figured it out, so you can too. Bye. Like,
Yeah. I definitely don't gatekeep. So
Yeah.
and I've helped a lot of people. I still, if someone emails me, I am more than willing to help because I was at that point where I was doing it alone and I didn't have the help. So I love to be able to help somebody in, whatever situation they're in, because if you think about it, even any successful person, doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter what like area of life it is, they are doing it. So you can see what they're doing, you can follow them, you can do what they're doing, you can watch them. People ask me all the time, oh, I like how you do this, or I like that you said this. Can I do that? Can I say this? Can I do that? Yes, do it. If you like how I did something, if it works for you, totally do it yourself like that. Not a problem. I have no, you know, not against it at all. So if that
Yeah.
helps somebody, go for it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And going, keeping on our theme of comparison, it's like even if you took a format of buying, selling purses, for example, you're making it your own just by it being you. So,
Yes.
like, however you present it,
Hmm.
that's your own twist. And you need to be comparing. We're going to get to the comparing yourself to yourself. There
Yes.
is a quote I wrote down from Jordan B. Peterson. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not who someone else is today.
Yes.
So there's a lot that could be said about that. But just in this specific example, when you're picking up these tips and tricks from other people on how to do whatever it is, selling purses is just an example. But like, were you able to do that yesterday? Are you doing it today? That's who you need to be thinking about, is who you were. Where were you last year in this, whatever goal it is that you have, or whatever you're finding yourself like admiring in other people or being maybe a little jealous of in other people? Whatever that goal is, where were you at a year ago? And let's compare you to now,
Yes.
because it doesn't do you any good to go compare yourself to the other people, because
Yep.
they, like we were saying, their circumstances are just like so vastly different from yours. And especially even family, honestly, the closest people you could possibly be to, I would say, is maybe your family. And even then, that family member is not, probably not letting you in on the entire story. Unless you're like with them 24 hours a day, you're probably not getting the whole story. And then definitely on social media, you are
Yeah.
1000% not getting the whole story
Oh yeah.
at all.
Yep.
There's no way you possibly could. So when, continuing to use Kristen as an example, you don't know all the work she puts in behind the scenes, even though she does give snippets of it on here and on her Instagram. It doesn't, like, you can't, especially if you've never done it before, you don't know how long it takes to go get to the store, pick out the purses,
Mm-hmm.
how much, how much you have to put down for those purses in the first place, the profit you lose if you don't sell the purse,
Yep.
all the effort and time it takes to cleaning them up, to cleaning out the insides, to getting the makeup stains off, to conditioning the leather, to gluing stuff back on if it needs to be glued back on or
Mhm.
stitched up, or what, I don't know if you stitch things, but like, I'm just saying. It's
I
all,
can. My
yeah,
stitching is very, simple,
yeah.
simplistic. So
Well, if it works, that's all that matters.
yes.
But my point being, there is so much behind the scenes that people just do not account for at
Yep.
all. That it's
Yep.
like, okay, yes, maybe, you know, a person makes X amount of money off of a bag, but like the gas to get to the store, the time,
Mhm.
if Kristen paid herself an hourly wage, it would probably be way more money for all these persons when it comes to factoring the time
Yeah.
and to like fix them up and everything.
Mhm.
Your hourly rate, if you just paid yourself hourly and then the profit on the purse is on top of it, because I'll tell you what, this is like going so off the topic from comparison. I was just trying to make the point, like, there's a lot more that goes into the things behind the scenes than meets the eye. So it's not, you cannot possibly compare yourself to that person until you live the identical lifestyle. And
Mhm.
that is not going to ever happen. It
Yep.
can't happen.
Yeah.
So going
Well,
back sorry,
no,
I'm
you're
on a roll.
fine. I want to talk about what you mentioned, social media,
Yeah.
and people are definitely not showing you everything on social media. You
Oh
may
no.
think that their life is perfect, their relationship with their significant other is perfect, their kids are perfect, because that's what they're showing you. People
Exactly.
don't necessarily show you when bad things happen. Maybe sometimes, like, oh, if they got a flat tire or whatever, but they're not going to tell you when they had a fight with their husband. They're not going to tell you that their kid got kicked out of school and suspended, like stuff like that. it,
Yeah.
it's more of
Yeah.
like a highlight reel on
Yeah.
social
That's a
media,
good, yeah. That's a good way of
so
putting it.
you can't people can't compare themselves to what you're seeing on social media, because most people don't want to air their dirty laundry out on social
Mhm.
media for
Mhm.
everyone to see and judge. So
Yeah.
remember that too when you guys are all scrolling in your scroll hole on
Yeah.
TikTok or
For
Instagram.
sure. So going to the back to the beginning of our conversation, me being jealous of your success in the beginning, it wasn't like in a negative way. It was just like beating myself up kind of way. Like, what am I doing wrong? And all these people around me are doing so well. There's a couple YouTubers that were jewelry sellers that I was doing that with. And then I realized, like, okay, let me take a step back and like really think about my situation. I'm a stay at home mom with 3 kids. Jewelry selling was my part time hobby. Kristen dumped her heart into her business and quit her job to do it full time. So here I am comparing myself to somebody who's probably putting in like 5 times the amount of hours into this job. I'm going to call it a job because YouTube's
Yeah.
a job.
Yep.
Versus me, who's like, oh, I have a few hours here on Saturday. Let's get something together, you know? So it's not comparable. I can't compare myself to the success of these people, but I can compare myself to before. I can compare myself when I started to when I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't doing my
Yeah.
channel at all,
Yeah.
you know.
And look at
After
you
about
now.
a year, what's that?
And look at you now.
Look at me now. I'm still not successful, but I don't care because I have different goals in life. It's not like a huge deal if I make it or break it on YouTube, but I
But
enjoy this a lot,
you
and I
haven't
still enjoy what
quit.
I'm doing.
You
No,
haven't
because I
quit.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't get burnt out because I enjoy it. I don't think I've done this for what, 4 years? 4 years now, over 4 years. I cannot tell you a time that I got burnt out. There was a time in life where I got busy with other projects and I had to put YouTube on the back burner. And instead of doing videos like weekly, I was doing them like every 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But it wasn't burnout. It was just like other things were going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, setting your priorities straight definitely helps you, through with
Yeah.
that stuff. But
a lot of people, if they don't make it to 100 subscribers, they quit. If they don't make it to 500, they put like this rush on themselves. And like I see people quit all the time. Oh, where did that person go? Or where I haven't seen this person in a while.
Yep.
So, like we were talking about, compare yourself to yourself in the past and where you are now. It's a huge
Exactly.
growth.
Yep.
You
You're
know,
absolutely right.
a
And
huge
I
success.
started, just using myself as an example. I started YouTube to sell jewelry from eBay. Like, I was hoping if I could gain some views on YouTube that I could direct people to my eBay store and they would go buy stuff there.
Nice, yeah.
And then I learned about selling stuff on YouTube, and like a year later, here I am having like weekly shows, selling things like crazy. A year after that, I was selling crystals like nobody's business.
Yeah.
And like there was growth. I just wasn't growing the same rate or trajectory as some other people, but like there's another thing for you to be honest with yourself about is what are your actual goals? Why did it matter so much for me to be on that same trajectory? When
Right.
I'm still making sales, I'm still doing better than I was a year ago or even a few months prior.
Yep.
And like, what good does it do you to compare yourself to the other person? You got to compare yourself to yourself. That's really the only way to move forward, is to be honest with yourself and compare yourself to yourself.
Yeah.
you know,
Well, yeah, it's to see your growth from the past and continue that.
yeah,
Stop looking outward at things to compare and people to compare yourself to, turn it inward and work on your own growth and strengths, and just look at where you started from and each point to get to where you are today. And that's a great like gratitude thing too, and it will help give you the confidence to keep going.
absolutely. And actually, that was a note I made to myself, which kind of ties back into our last episode about negative self talk.
Hmm.
Um, one, I'll come back to this, but being honest with yourself, but is comparing yourself, when you're comparing yourself to these other people, is it coming from a positive or a negative space?
Mm.
And I think that's something you need to be able to make that switch, because if it's all negative, why are they doing so much better than me? Why do I suck and they're awesome? Like, why, like, the woe is me attitude is not going to get you anywhere. So
Hmm.
if you can kind of flip the script on yourself, like we were talking about last time, about kind of retraining your brain to kind of think of things in a different light, more or less,
Yes.
think about it in a positive way. Okay, well, this person is being really successful. What are they doing that I can implement in my own life?
Yes.
And then, going back to, you can totally ask people, you can observe them. If you're jealous of a coworker, what are you jealous of? And like, what kind of positive things does this coworker do that you could implement? You
Yep.
know, are they on time a lot? Do they take short lunches, or like, do they make an effort to talk to the boss every now and again about non-related work things? What are some things that you can do too that will help you, and you know, these traits that you admire from somebody else, not just belittling yourself for not having those qualities? How can you implement those qualities in your own life to be
Yep.
successful in
You
your own
can
life?
you can pinpoint like what exactly um, is about the person that you're comparing, like if it's a specific thing, and like you said, like work on that thing, watch them, you know, ask them. There's always a way to better a situation. You just have to figure out what it is and how you can fix it, work on it, grow from it. However, the
Mm-hmm.
comparison's always going to be there. Like, you know, even if you are like, oh, well, I want to make six figures. Okay, well, then you're going to make six figures, and now you're going to make, well, I want to be a millionaire. Well, look at that person, they're a millionaire. Well, and then once you're a millionaire, you're going to be like, well, I want to look at that person, they're a billionaire. Well, then I want to be a billionaire. So it's always going to be there. You just have to learn to kind of turn it into a more positive way, and you know, work on yourself and try not to be so comparing of others, because like we mentioned earlier, everyone's at a different stage of their life doing different things different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say too, I think a lot of, sorry, I keep adjusting my mic. I think a lot of jealousy issues in comparison come from a place of competition
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, not always, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes in a job setting, in a content creator setting, or like you're trying to sell stuff on eBay and you're noticing this other shop is making so many more sales. Realize that there is room for success for pretty much everyone,
Oh yeah.
depending on how you define your success. I suppose the exception of the rule would be like if you're going after a job position or something like that.
Right.
That's it, where there's only one, like, you know.
Right.
But when it comes to selling things, when it comes to, I always bring up weight loss because it's, you know, significant in my life right now. But yeah, you're trying to lose weight loss, or lose weight loss, lose weight. You know, maybe like you and a family member are both trying to lose weight, and like, how are they doing? Why is Jimmy just quit soda and he lost 20 pounds and I've only lost two? You know, there's room for success for everyone. You
Yes.
just need to define what your success for you is and realize that there's room at the top for many people. So it's not like just because they're doing well doesn't mean you can not also do well. You totally can. So,
Correct. 100%. Well,
oh,
I can give a good example of what I've done to um, stop like a comparison thing in a
okay.
negative way. Well, a negative comparison thing. And
Okay.
that's mostly with social media is I've unfollowed a whole bunch of people that give me the wrong feelings. Like for example, she's a big influencer, so I guess I can feel comfortable saying her name. Because I don't it's not really anything I'm gonna say bad about her. It's just I don't really agree with things that she does. Jen
Mm,
Stano, and I've been following her like 10 years, okay? However, as she got more famous on Instagram, she changed. She was getting all this plastic surgery, all, and she just became, let's just say, she just became very fake to me because
yeah.
I've known her since she started, basically. So
Right.
I didn't like how that felt. Like I didn't like scrolling and seeing her posts because I didn't feel like that was really her, if that makes sense. So like
Yeah.
I used to I used to look up to her, you know, and compare myself to her in a good way. Like I she was like an inspiration.
Mm,
And after a while it didn't feel that way to me anymore. So I had to hit that unfollow.
yeah.
And I know a lot of people, maybe if it's a family member or something like that, that they really can't like unfriend or whatever. There's the mute button. You can just click mute, and you'll still be friends with them. You just won't see any of their posts. So I think we talked about that last episode where you control what you're seeing. You know, any bad comparison, jealousy, envious type of feelings. about people in your social media feeds, you can get rid of that. You know,
Yeah.
make it not
Yeah.
there anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. If it doesn't serve you in a good way, there's no reason you need to keep subjecting yourself to it.
Right.
There really isn't.
Right. If it's just going to make you feel like crap and put you in a negative mind space, then why would you continue to look at it, you know?
Yeah,
Get rid of
absolutely.
it.
Get rid of that. Mute them all.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so going to a tip, I would say something to try if you're trying to get out of this comparison mindset is to define your goals, whatever those goals are going to be. I want to make 10,000 additional dollars by the end of the year, whatever your goal is. And then be truly honest with yourself about implementing techniques to reach that goal. You
Hmm.
can sit there all day and say, why is this person making money, more money than I am? But, and yes, you can go ask them how XYZ, but you really need to take a hard look at yourself and kind of analyze yourself. What improvements can I make in my life to achieve this goal? Am I honestly spending enough time on this goal that it's even feasible? So definitely like have an honest conversation with yourself. And we're probably going to say this next one every single episode, but get yourself a dang notebook, okay? Make some notes,
Hmm.
write down a list. What have I done towards this goal? What can I do to
Yeah.
achieve, like towards making this goal?
Yes. I love it.
Write down some goals.
It helps to write it out too. Like it helps to see it, you're writing it, it's getting like implanted into your head better, and it can help get you further with those goals.
Yep, I agree. And so while we're writing these notes down about ourselves, I'll also say be sure to give yourself credit where credit's due. I cannot tell you like how many people I meet that are just so darn like modest about their accomplishments when they're actually kind of big deals. I have a friend like
Mhm.
I don't think she watches my channel, but she was an EMT and like now she works in cardiology and she has done amazing things in her life, but she is so darn like like
Yeah.
anyone could do it if they had the right training, like that kind of attitude. It's like, you have to really acknowledge the fact that you have really succeeded and really done some good things when
Mhm.
you do those good things. And that will help you kind of realize, okay, well, I did do XYZ. I did, impress my boss and make that bonus at work,
Mhm.
last Christmas. And like, okay, so I know you're telling your brain that you can do it. So instead of all these negatives, why can't I XYZ? Remind yourself that you can and you have. You
Mhm.
have achieved things in your life. Okay.
Yep.
Even very small things to very big things, but you've achieved a lot in your life. If you really sat down and thought about your achievements, I'm sure you could come up with a handful. Just keep reminding yourself that you're capable.
I actually had that something like that written down. It's everyone's life looks different to everyone else's, and that's okay. And there's still things about your life and my life that are to be celebrated and that we should be happy about. Like you mentioned, like every person has a thing about them that should be celebrated. They should be happy about it. They
Yeah.
did whatever they did, they accomplished it. So you guys can't forget about that. Celebrate yourself, even the little wins, and it helps with confidence to keep going and maybe, you know, finish something or start and finish something even bigger.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I actually wrote a note down here about positive reinforcement in dog training.
Yeah.
Not to compare all of us to dogs, but it's very applicable. So, like in dog training, when you're training a dog, any trainer that's worth their weight in salt or worth their weight in whatever gold or whatever the phrase is.
Gold, I think. Yeah.
What is the one with salt? There's something with salt too. If
I
you
don't
know,
know.
write it in the comments. Um, anyway, we'll tell you that positive reinforcement is the key to successful training. So, like, you call that dog off the couch and the dog actually gets off. You give it praise, you give it a treat, and that will be what continues to have the dog listen to you when it jumps off, because it jumps off and it's happy. Or it'll just come up to you and not even jump on the couch anymore because it learns, like, okay, well, I'm getting praised for this, so I'm going to stay happy and do all the right things. If
Mhm.
you smack that dog to get it off the couch, then it becomes afraid of you. It's not a happy animal anymore. And so, kind of, this is what you're doing to your own mind. When you're constantly berating yourself,
Mhm.
you're setting the mood for your own brain. But if you are praising yourself for the accomplishments and not just like, don't harp on the negative stuff. Like in dog training, you don't even acknowledge the dog's done something bad.
Mhm.
You don't hit him for peeing on the rug or whatever, you know?
Yep.
And so, like, that's just something to keep in mind. Like you said, celebrate your wins,
Mhm.
encourage yourself in that way, because it's praise is great from outside sources, but you need to be able to do it for yourself too, because
Yeah.
you're with yourself all the time. And like
Yes.
we talked about earlier, not everybody sees everything you do. So, just be sure to give yourself that encouragement. Just the last thing I wanted to say is just keep in mind that as much as you might be comparing yourself to someone else is probably comparing themselves to you.
Oh yeah.
So, just for a little perspective shift, honestly, because I don't think we think about that a lot because we're so stuck in like what we don't have currently, that we
Mhm.
don't think about how much we do have and how much somebody else would kill for our life, our
Yeah.
lifestyle, or whatever we have, some sort of something or other. So, just saying. I had one time I was in the store, in a thrift store, and I was shopping with one of my kids, and a lady came up to me and she was like, "He's so precious." I'm like, "Yeah," I in my head I'm like, "I wish I could be shopping alone right now." Like, I just need a little mommy break. I had the other ones at home, so and she's like, "I really wanted kids, but we couldn't have them. You were so lucky to have him." And
Aw.
because I think I mentioned I had the other ones at home, and she was just like gushing over my kid, and that was really like, wow, like a perspective shift. Even though
Yeah.
I'm desiring that like alone time, it's like I really am lucky. Like, thank you, ma'am. Like that,
Yeah.
you know,
So
and just yeah, just as an example of something I personally experienced. But it's things like that all are happening all the time, whether you're aware of it or not. Someone
yeah.
is jealous of your situation. So
Yeah,
even if they don't
we don't
know.
always think about it either. We like you didn't even think about that.
No.
So, so it could bring a lot to light. And even talking about last time when we said like zoom out for a second, and
Hmm.
also what we talked about, everyone is on a different path. So
Yep.
someone might be looking up to you or envious of you. And,
Yep.
same with as it goes up the ranks, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know. I guess the more successful you do become, the more there are going to be people that are going to have those jealousy towards you too. So, just be prepared for that. And
Yes.
that may be something we discuss on the next episode, because
Ooh,
I already have an idea what I would like to do for the next one, but we'll talk about that next time.
nice.
Is there anything else you wanted to say? I think I hit all my bullet points.
Yeah, I think that was a good combo.
All right. Well, that's going to be it for this one, guys. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button and do all the things. And we do these podcasts every other week, releasing them on Sunday. So thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you have a lovely Sunday, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yes. Bye,
All right.
guys.
Bye.